Welcome back to another exciting episode of the CryptoCannaVerse, an international faith-based show that serves as a hub for visionary entrepreneurs within four key domains: Christ, cryptocurrencies, CVAs, and cannabis. Our goal is to grow, educate, and inspire within these groups by connecting founders with investors, advisors, and partnerships. All faiths are welcome. Today's show is hosted by Crystal Wampler and Alan Lau. And our guest co-host today is Tom Fordham, a professional crypto consultant. Welcome, Tom.
Happy to be here with you, Crystal.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us today. Tom, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Okay, so I had a really long career in IT and retired. And so I unretired because I found out about this thing called crypto. And crypto really got me excited, so much so that I became a professional crypto consultant. And basically, I spend every day working with individuals and businesses on dealing with their data needs, mostly their crypto accounting. Anything from just doing portfolio and tax preparation to doing some tax loss harvesting at year end. Whatever it is, I have experience in blockchain technology and can do a lot of heavy lifting for them, and it makes their CPAs super happy.
That's wonderful. It sounds like you have a lot of background and also accounting processes as well.
That's true. I had worked in accounting. I ran finance and operations for a software startup for 5 years. I actually got my start in accounting. I actually hated it at the beginning, but now I love it. I'm very passionate about it. Spent 20 years in IT doing primarily financial systems work, have written every accounting program you can think of. And so naturally, when it comes to doing stuff with crypto, I write a lot of programs because there's a lot of data needs.
That's exciting. What is the most wallets you've ever worked with?
I had one. Well, it's a little complicated question because it's not totally fair to call them by wallets, but 120 roughly was the biggest.
Oh,
Wow, that's
oh,
impressive. That
It's
is
actually it's
impressive.
actually more complicated when there's like NFTs and stuff involved because the costing and stuff for that's much harder. But um, that I also look at terms of transactions. The biggest number of transactions is about 150,000.
Wow, that's impressive. Well, thank you so much for joining us and being our guest co-host today. We very much
Happy to
appreciate
be here.
it. We are booking guest co-hosts for February and speakers for May 2024. If you would like to be a guest co-host or speaker or learn more about the companies on the show, please reach out to Crystal at CryptoCannaVerse.com. Note, we are not a licensed investment advisor, so please don't consider the show's content as investment advice. Conduct your own research and consult a professional investor before making financial decisions. Today's show is being live broadcast across various platforms, including LinkedIn, Facebook groups, Twitter, YouTube, with a total reach of 1.2 million. Our strategic network includes venture capital firms, family offices, blockchain and crypto hedge funds, business owners, Web3 launchpads, CPAs, attorneys serving high net worth clientele, investors, and angel investors. Helen, good morning, good afternoon. How are you doing today?
good morning, Crystal. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining our show. I'm doing great. How are you?
Good, thank you. What Bible verse do you have for us today?
Yes, I love this one that you posted and shared with me. I meditated on this as well as read the explanation and what you wrote. Loved every single word of it. It comes from the book of James. It's chapter 1, verse 17. And it says, every good and perfect gift from above, coming down from the Father of heavenly lights, who does not change like shifting shadows. Imagine it. Every ounce of joy, every spark of creativity, every flutter of love, all flowing from the divine well springs within. It's humbling and to realize merely conduits, receiving and sharing the goodness that emanates from a power far greater than ourselves. And isn't that a beautiful way to live? Knowing that even on the days when clouds hang low and shadows linger, the Son of God, generosity, still shines above. It makes every breath a gift, every smile a testament to his overflowing love. It reminds us that everything comes from above, Whether it is rain that we're getting, whether it's snow in our city, or even storms in our lives. Everything comes from the heaven of God, but knowing that God would help us in all situations, his overflowing love surpasses all, and we can breathe the life of God, what he gives us to us. So I love the picture too that you posted.
Awesome. Thank you, Alan. Thank you for sharing that with us. The CryptoCannaVerse show presents speaker Scott Hagizadegan, founder of Shield IT Networks today, Friday, January 19th, 2024. Scott is a cybersecurity expert and entrepreneur, boasting over 25 years of experience. He is the founder of Shield IT Networks, and he previously co-founded Ignisis. He's navigated a broad spectrum of clients from startups to Fortune 500 giants like Ernst Young, FPA, Guitar Center, VP Corp, Vans, LAPD, Four Wheel Parts, and Don Roberto Jewelers. Renowned and pioneering cutting-edge cybersecurity solutions, Scott's philosophy of design driving outcomes is matched only by his dedication to philanthropy, reflected in his profit with purpose approach, where profits are reinvested for community service. Welcome, Scott.
Hey, Crystal. Thanks to you and Alan for having me. I'm excited to be back with you guys. Alan, that was an awesome Bible verse. That was cool.
Love it. Thank you.
It's so great having you back. I'm sorry I butcher your last name like every single time.
Oh, I enjoy watching people suffer. I know it's terrible, but this it's a good source. You actually did pretty good. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I've had a little bit of practice.
Yeah.
So, Scott, I love founders that are not only Christian founders, but, walk the talk. Can you tell me a little bit more about, your profit with a purpose approach?
Ooh, yeah. That's I just get really fired up talking about that. That's the really fun side of what we do. And that's just taking, a percentage of our profits and putting it back into ministries and projects that we are just really passionate about. Those usually translate into projects that are a hand up, not a handout most of the time. Over the 20 plus years, usually like computer labs at orphanages we've done in Zambia. We also have, we helped a group that has strawberry farms in Zambia that we support through LifeSong, phenomenal organization. So we introduced through them strawberries to the country of Zambia. Believe it or not, they didn't even have it up till 10 years ago when that was done. And wow. They take all the profits, they partnerships with grocery stores, and all the profits from the strawberries go back into the orphanages of 600. So we specifically did the computer lab. I took one of our tech guys with me too, and educating the orphans so they can, they're so eager and hungry to learn. It's amazing. And, to change their own country from within. So those are awesome projects we've done in Honduras, Dominican Republic, Mexico, United States. Other projects we get into is like, saving women from, sex trafficking and getting them rehabilitated. Our veterans, we do projects in the US. Those are more, they've earned it. We don't need to do like just anything like that. Always love giving back to our veterans. We owe every day of, the stuff we get to do to them and what they've spilled blood and, everything for. So yeah, Amen. So that's what we're excited. Our clients love knowing what we do. We used to kind of not even talk about it. We had a sales manager of ours about 10 years ago challenged us on that. And he said, why do you guys keep it so quiet? People love knowing that, we do this and that they're contributing to that and being a part of it. So we had a paradigm shift about 10 years ago about that. And I got to say, it was great because our clients love and they support us with different causes as well. Besides projects, they'll donate or get involved in whatever ways, or just knowing that they're doing business with us, that's what we do. And our team members also, they love knowing that we give back. We're so blessed and we do our share in our small way to, make the world better and help, because we've been so blessed beyond just the magic, just beyond words. Yeah.
That's amazing. I love the comment of giving a hand up, not a hand out. That's super important point for sure.
Yeah, the most recent project on that last thing was, we did like a clean water system we did in Dominican Republic a couple of months ago at an orphanage down there. And being on the ground there and seeing the orphanage, the church, the local community, just clean water, what opportunity it created for them, to help them just with just the things that we don't even think twice or blink about. Right now, this is turning into a total blessing where they can survive, but now they can also take that to the community. They're using it as outreach, delivering it to those that can't even come into the church where the system was installed, so they can deliver it to the elderly and the sick. And they're also selling it to the community at a discounted rate, and then taking those funds and feeding it back into the community and the orphanage. So yeah, that's the most recent one we did in October, but
That's amazing.
Get fired up about that. I can talk all day on that.
Yeah, I can see on your face you just get so, excited, and the light shines from you. It's amazing. That's exciting. So, yeah, I would really love to talk to you offline a little bit more about that and see how, we can help you as well. But, you have had some amazing partnerships and clients, ranging from Cal CPA Association to startups and Fortune 500 companies. How have you observed the evolution of cyber attacks on small businesses over the years? And are things improving or worsening?
Yeah. Yeah, and we're excited. We just added, besides California CPA Society, with their 44,000 members being their exclusive cybersecurity provider, we just added California Lawyers Association. I hadn't got a chance to tell you about. Yeah, 250,000 members. That comes on in March. We're launching that program, so really excited. Unfortunately, Crystal, it's gotten worse, and it's crazy. It just gets worse every year. Going back just a short few years, you're talking, 2020 with COVID closures and everybody working from home, we saw a massive ramp up of attacks and vulnerabilities, that they took advantage of, with companies working from home and having staff all over. Just created new things. But then after that, you had, the Ukraine war that stepped up attacks. Then you have state actors, the bad guys from each of these countries targeting individuals. The Israel war that's going on, whatever it might be, it's just constantly gotten worse. So yeah, that's unfortunate. In fact, in 2015, IBM had put out a prediction at the time that in the near future, within a short few years, that the biggest single problem to businesses, biggest threat to businesses would be cybersecurity. And unfortunately, in the last 2 to 4 years, that's pretty much what has happened. There's nothing that's a bigger threat to putting a business, shutting it down overnight. And
Absolutely.
yeah. And the problem is like with, as entrepreneurs and business owners, we're used to, I describe as ducking and weaving, bullets, right? We adapt and we survive. Oh crap, global closure, you have recession going on, you have inflation, supply chain shortage. We adapt our business models. That's how we operate. The big difference is with cybersecurity, if you can imagine, if you came in tomorrow and every one of your computer screens was locked up, it's just crippling. I mean, it's just instantaneous. So
Yeah,
most people don't know in California. I apologize. Go ahead.
No, please. Most people don't know in California what. I'm excited to hear.
Yeah, the challenge is that, and I get it, as entrepreneurs, we're so busy with, like I was talking about, dodging these bullets, we lose sight, because you don't know our side of the business of how often these breaches happen. According to FBI stats, nationally, a breach happens every 11 seconds to a small business. To put that in plain English, it's like the same frequency as car accidents. Now, if we're the lucky folks that are living in California, like a lot of us here, it's double the national average. Every 5.5 seconds, double the rate of car accidents.
Wow.
You're talking now, the average ransom is 498,000. We haven't got the FBI stats. It's due out this month, but the latest for last year was the average ransom for a small business was at 498,000 and change.
That's crazy. So the misconception that only large corporations get hit is completely wrong.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest misconceptions we see a lot of times, because then it leads business owners to thinking that, hey, I'm not a target. They go after the big ones. That's not what the numbers show. Those are the headlines you hear about, like MGM, the pipeline, people fighting over gas over the Southeast. I mean, those are major things. The sad, unfortunate fact is 98% of the attacks are on small business. And think about it. It's there. We're easy prey as small businesses, right? You know, you think about it like in a simple analogy like this. If you're a criminal and, you know, if I'm going after somebody's house, are you going to go after the one that has, you know, cameras, a guard dog, barbed wire, or are you going to go after like an easier one that's got the back door unlocked and, you know, you can just, you know, that's the easy stuff. And these days it's insane the things that are out there right now, where they have ransomware as a kit that they sell, the bad actors, that you can hop online and buy one of these things, and it gives you a toolkit to go after these businesses. And small businesses are totally ill prepared because they don't have the right tools.
Wow, that's crazy. What kind of information are cyber criminals after?
You know, there's so much sensitive data, Crystal, that most, depending on the industry that they have, a lot of the what's called in our industry PII, personal identifiable information. So, you know, like with CPA firms and law firms, that's why we go after the verticals that are the most, you know, the biggest threat, because they have so much client sensitive data. You think about all the data that they have: social security numbers, credit cards, driver's licenses. The biggest problem we see in the industry is, like I touched on a little bit earlier, that there's such a big disconnect on two key things: the impact of a breach that it has on a small business and the likelihood. Right? Most think that, oh, they're not after me and it's not going to happen. The impact is crippling. Percentage, it's 27% file bankruptcy after being hit, 10% never recover and they shut down. And
Yeah, but
so
what about having cybersecurity insurance? I mean, a lot of
yeah.
what won't that save them?
It's maybe it's a definite safety net that you gotta have. Cyber insurance, you know, with cyber insurance, it's an absolute must. But what we find a lot of times is that your safety net is not even really there. In fact, in a study that it showed is 52% of claims over the last 18 months after a breach were denied. The reason
Wow.
for that, yeah, this is stunning. I mean, it's like jumping out of a plane and your parachute, you know, you're counting on. I mean, that might seem extreme, but frankly, a lot of our businesses, it's our livelihoods for us, for our employees and their families. You know, there's people that depend on us. So it's safety net. Everything is about prevention on what we do in our world, because an ounce of prevention is worth tons of cure in our space. But absolutely, cyber insurance is a must. The reason 52%, that study, what happens is the SAQs, they're called self-assessment questionnaires that we all fill out when you go to buy health insurance. They ask you all these crazy questions, right? Do you have this? Do you have that? You know, do you have multi-factor authentication? You know, all these different things. And we just want the insurance. So I don't think it's done maliciously or, you know, trying to lie. But a lot of business owners that are the ones that fill that out, or their CFOs, they just go through, and these guys have so many questions to get out of having to pay. And they don't realize if they're answering it incorrectly, it's like having a health insurance and withholding information about a previous condition that you had.
You're
right?
answering the HIPAA form wrong. They can't diagnose you.
Exactly. So, and something really scary that happened in our industry last year that just shook our world and set precedents in a very bad way is there's a story about Travelers Insurance, one of the biggest in the country. This firm had filled out their self-assessment questionnaire incorrectly. They marked off that they had multi-factor authentication, one of many things that they ask about on there, and they didn't really have it. So instead of what happens a lot of times, 52% of the time, they deny the claim, Travelers decided to file a lawsuit against them, saying that it misrepresented and it causes them to change how they view risk of what they're taking on and what they're offering. So you're talking fraud. So criminal, financial obligations. So that set new precedents for that. So any engagements that we have with CPA firms or law firms or other small business owners, one of the key things that our team does is we do audits of their insurance policy. I always ask them, hey, and we don't sell cyber insurance, but our goal is to always be our clients' trusted technology provider for decades to come. In fact, one of the biggest things I'm very proud of our team is our average client has been with us 19 years, 6 times the industry average. So when we audit the insurance policies, we ask them, send us your application and your policy, because I want to see, do you really have in place what you have? And then we do an assessment. But most of the times we point out to them that you don't even have coverage because you claimed you had this and you don't have that. And that's the one you want to find out. It's painful, but it's way less painful than after, you don't want to find out when there's an issue. So find somebody that can go through your policy and look at your app, and a technology cybersecurity specialist that can verify, hey, do I have these things that I checked off? Because now you're looking at criminal and potential fines that go along with that. It's just crazy stuff that sounds made up, but unfortunately it's true.
Yeah, no, before I pass the mic over to Tom, I know he has some questions. I just want to mention that there's no amount of insurance money that can fix your reputation after, you have clients' information that's been breached. So
yeah. And Tom,
right.
You play a lot in our space too, between tech and CPAs. And for the CPAs, they have the FTC regulations that recently kicked in last June 9th. They have some serious teeth on fines and penalties. We had a firm that were brought in to help recently, and they had a breach, and they're a SoCal firm. And, besides being down 68 days, completely locked down, and all the ransom that they had to pay, because they had sensitive client data, and they're a SoCal company only, but they had clients that they had their records, their personal information, and those clients lived in other states. They got lawsuits from 3 different district attorneys that they had to settle out of court that came out to $1.9 million. So, you're talking about a day and age that if you don't have your ducks in a row, you got the bad guy's hand in your pocket and the supposed good guys that are come after you. Because with FTC, luckily, they don't have people going door to door to check like, hey, do you have sensitive data? And are you doing your due diligence to protect that data? But the bad part is when they come after you is when you've had an incident. That's when the auditors get reported and they come in and you view yourself as the victim and think, oh my gosh, I just had this, I'm a victim. And they see it the opposite. They view you as guilty, and you got to prove your innocence that, hey, I took my due diligence to, protect this sensitive data. Otherwise, then they now come out with fines. And that just happened June 9th of last year. Yeah.
In your example, when you said you come to your office and they're locked out, it's calling you at that point just way too late. Is there anything that you guys do about that, or because it's all prevention, you said, right? Yeah,
we come in with a forensic team, and I'm brought in on those situations, and it's so painful and hurtful to see what the business owners and their employees, like, they can't do payroll, they can't do anything. No, we have a forensic team, attorneys, everything that comes in, and we get the right people. Do they have an incident response plan is one of the key things that comes up. That will determine how quickly we get them back up and running. Because if not, we have to develop that. What are your key business operations? Incident response plan, everything is about prevention, but the last 2 layers, if it hits the fan, because nothing is 100% sure, is going to be your incident response policy and your insurance policy. And then with the incident response policy, to answer your question, that's what gives you step by step when you're in that oh crap moment. Okay, what do I do first? Who do I contact? Where's our data backup? Who are the people I need to notify? But yeah, it's a world, it's a whole different thing. And those companies that don't want to spend, because none of us want to spend on IT security. People tend to be so busy with other stuff, and nobody likes to buy cyber security stuff, but it's pennies on the dollar compared to what they go through when we're brought in. And those same people that wouldn't do the smallest thing, they think, oh, we got firewall and antivirus, we're covered. They'll just open check any item that's needed because they have to. They're either that or it's sad, or either that or they're out of business.
So Scott, thank you today for coming on and really kind of illuminating for many of the folks that are attending today the fact that you need to be very proactive when it comes to security, and you can't ever discount the value of it. In my lifetime, I was an IT director when 9/11 hit, and I counted my blessings that although I had a facility in New York City on Fifth Avenue, I had a fully tested, fully operational disaster recovery plan. And part of that included things like security and who does what, who calls whom, everything that you need to do. It's a playbook. It sat on my desk, right? So my question to you, though, is, times are tough for many small business owners, and money is always an object, always part of the problem. What would you recommend as like a series of steps to kind of get themselves going? Because most people have to get going, right?
Yeah.
Once they get going, they'll buy in, but they have to have some idea of where to start. So give us some ideas.
Yeah, that's a great question, Tom. And your background, it makes sense because, I'm preaching to the choir there. And that's great to see that the preparedness you had and how that helped you through that period. Biggest thing that we suggest starting off with, I don't understand why hardly anybody does this, but now, frankly, this will check off multiple boxes because your cyber insurance requires it. If you're impacted by the FTC regulations, they require it once a year, but it's also the right way to go at what you're asking about. And that's to get a vulnerability risk assessment to first identify, because how else is a small business going to know what to get? How is what they are spending currently even working? Most, they just throw money at it and say, okay, install a firewall, do this. My guy says to do that. And they don't know any different. The reason best practices require, and what we suggest is doing a vulnerability risk assessment, is it gives you a full assessment of how's your health, what's working. And then based on that, we give recommendations. Oh, here's the vulnerabilities. Here's the tools that you have that are working. Here's what you're missing that you need to add. It's no different than if you go to a doctor. I mean, could you imagine going to your doctor, Tom, and saying, okay, you need to go on this medication, this, and that? They don't do that. First, they do blood work. You're going to do an MRI, whatever level of thing. Even your car, they're going to hook it up to the computer and do an assessment. Why people haven't been doing it in businesses for cybersecurity years earlier, like we've been doing with our clients, just baffles me. But luckily, what we see now is that that's required now. If you look at your cyber insurance policy in most cases, because they're losing so much money. But yeah, that's the right way to do it. We recommend doing the assessment. That takes all the guesswork out. So when we do those for clients, we're rated one of the top 5% in the United States in cybersecurity. That's our hyper focus. And I still can't do it alone. Our team, our security team of 60 plus people, we can't do it alone. I have guys, to be totally transparent with everybody on here, we have third parties audit our network every 3 months. That's best practice. So that's what I would suggest. But at least for your small business owners, I say at least once a year to find out. It just takes the guesswork out. Peter Drucker, the management guru of the last century, one of my favorite quotes by him that talks to this is, when you have all the facts, the decisions jump out at you. So if that answers your question.
Well, that's awesome. So along those lines, one of the things that I found that made things like bringing together a disaster, it actually was disaster recovery and business continuity. It was kind of both. And that plan started way in advance of 9/11. But the thing was education, right, was important for the business owner. In my case, I was IT director. I actually dragged my CFO and CEO to a couple of different conferences to speak with people and to get a handle on things that they should be mindful of, because all they see is me spending money, right? It's easy to write checks, right? But what they needed is somebody to put the hammer down and really, really drill into them the fact that there's a real cost, right, of not doing it, right? It's always easy to not do something. You had to find a reason to do something. We want a website, they find a reason to do a website, right? That's easy, right?
Yeah.
But when it comes to security, it's so behind the scenes that people don't really pay attention to it until it's too late. So super valuable for you to be, talking about that. But what kinds of things can small business owners do to kind of educate themselves about this whole area?
Yeah, that's a great question. And you're spot on. Awareness and education is the leading thing that is needed industry wide. Simple, I would say cyber training is one of the cheapest and most effective things that any business owner can do for themselves and all their staff. So like that's one of the services on our platform. There's many out there that are great. They're so inexpensive. And what they do is they send out short, like our platform, for example, sends out short videos that are 1 to 2 minutes long to every employee, right? That's like entertaining in a fun way, in plain speak. And then at the end of the 1 to 3 minute video, it'll have like a 4-question quiz. And then it gamifies, for example, a credit score mimicking FICO score from 500 to 850. And then everybody on the team gets a score too. So it's some competitiveness. And, we had one CPA firm they saw how important this was, and they put out $1,000 reward for their employee that had the highest score. So it has accountability, fun, competitiveness to it. But whatever platform you go with, education, those are, because it's a drip system. No IT person, like you manage networks, what a daunting task it is. You're one person. How can you educate? You focused on the leadership, which is the smartest and most effective place. But the stats that we work backwards to what I'm talking about is 92% of breaches happen because of employee errors. So even if a company spends bajillions of dollars on cybersecurity, that one employee error can take them down. And I'll give a quick example of a recent story we probably all heard about is MGM. You guys heard about the casino and all their 14 locations.
Oh, yeah.
Well, except for their location in China. That was kind of suspect. But all the other locations were shut down. I mean, they had to walk people to their rooms. Everything had to go cash. They're out of business. There's estimates that cost them $8.1 million a day. Now, you think about the security tools a company like MGM has. Their team of IT people is over 1,200 people. How did they get taken down? Employee error. An employee, they were able to social engineer, call, and trick them into doing stuff. So, answer your question, cyber training for your staff. If you do only one thing, walking away from this, I would say look into getting cybersecurity training for your staff. Just like the cybersecurity assessments, it's also required by most insurance policies too. So most of you have cyber insurance. You probably check that off. And if you don't have it, that's part of the problem. You need to get that done too. Yeah.
Well, also on the people thing, what I have found, I, as an IT person, always embraced working with the HR people. Why? Because most of the bigger issues that we actually faced were actually people issues. Somebody comes to me and says that somebody's wasting time, playing a game, and they come to me and ask me to do something. I'm like, what do you want me to do about that? That's a management problem. It's not an IT problem. Please deal with it. Right. So one of the things I think that's become a real problem with, especially in smaller businesses, they tend to have turnover. They have people coming in and out. It's really important that the HR people be really plugged into this issue. And I'm not always convinced that they are. They worry about, it's ironic, they worry about, like if you're retail, they worry about theft, loss prevention. They'll worry about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But if they don't it doesn't ever rise to the same level of attention. And I kind of lay that blame at the foot of the upper management, right? Which is they need to have the entire organization be sensitive to what's going on. So in your experience, have you seen that part of the business world, the HR people, really are finding themselves in need of getting up to speed on some of this stuff to actually try and beat down some of it?
Yeah, that's a darn good question. And Tom, you're spot on. This is the first time I've had somebody ask me this question. It gets overlooked so much. We do policies and procedures through HR, and that's key. So absolutely. That's essential because to your point, what I always communicate when we're working with companies, depending on the size, actually, regardless of the size, and unless if it's just one or two people, we share with them that this needs to be taken on at a leadership level, right? They need to own and lead by example, that they take this seriously. But the HR is absolutely key. So usually when we do our assessment, that's where we go through like, what policies do they have? And we have like a list of 15 different types of policies. We ask, do they have these policies? And then do they have the staff, the employees sign off that they've read and accepted those things? The policy is the rules, rules and procedures, are they aware of it? And have they accepted that they know that? And when there's turnover and different things, so HR, to your point, is a key role. We usually work with HR to develop their policies and procedures, where oftentimes they're lacking. We have a library of resources with our security team, and we have an automated, if they have a system, we prefer to use their stuff so they're not reinventing the wheel, but we have a platform, a cloud platform that automates that, where we insert that policy that we customize for them and the employees sign off. But we also usually have HR in a company that has HR, we have them lead the cyber training. In fact, like the firm that I shared the story, it's a retailer with a good amount of stores, about 100 stores. I'm not going to name them, but basically their HR person, in fact, today is having a meeting that just reminds me that we armed them with yesterday with the executive, with all their managers, right? 60 or so managers, to go over what their current score is on the cyber training and where they're at last year, and just to keep that message out there of the importance and, that they need to raise the bar, because their biggest vulnerabilities is the staff errors. So HR,
well, thank you for that. And well, thank you for that. And I see that Amanda has her hand raised. So go ahead, Amanda.
And I kept trying to butt in. And I was like, there was such a good back and forth. I did have a question. Yeah, you were. Quick question is, are you only in California doing cybersecurity? Or are you all over?
No, we're nationwide. Yeah. We have some of our clients in retail that have some locations that we do in other countries as well. And, I'm a little apprehensive about going global. We've had clients request that, for our services, but we stick to the United States 95%.
And you're doing the cybersecurity for the California CPA Association, the Lawyer Association. Is that you actually helping like 2,000 plus professionals? And are you able to scale to serve all of them, or how is that going to work?
Luckily, so far, yes, because you don't service them all at the same time. And we also do the Printing Industry Association in 18 different states, where they're exclusive cybersecurity provider. And it's working so far. And but if all picked up the phone and they picked up the call, the phone, and said, we need help right away. Ugh.
How many employees do you guys have right now?
Be able to, what's that?
How many employees do you guys have right now?
The security team total we have on the security side is about 60 plus.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That's amazing.
But it takes the right team and partnerships to do it. Ultimately, is I want to focus on that. To be successful in cybersecurity, it takes Tom, I'm sure, knows this and has lived this I can already tell from what he's talked about, is it takes the right strategic partnerships, and nobody can do it alone. You really got to have anybody, that's like I said, we partner well, and we can't do it alone either. So that's an essential part.
And the training, like you kept saying, is important. Having people knowing what they're doing.
It is. It's a force multiplier, and you need some platform to do that, because even the companies we work with and we handle their cybersecurity stack, like, okay, we have all these industry leading tools in place, but your employee errors can bypass all that. So you need an education part. So back to Tom's question earlier, man, invest in, some cyber training for your staff. That's probably some of the most low hanging fruit, that and the assessments to figure out the risk. Yeah. And in fact, what we can do, Crystal, we hadn't talked about it, but I have some licenses from our third-party industry-leading tool that I have left over for the month that sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. So I can offer the vulnerability risk assessments that are usually worth $8,000 to $30,000, depending on the size of the firm. I can give anybody on this call for you guys up. I have 3 available that I can do. So, any size organization. So it could, you get a comprehensive executive summary with that industry leading tool. And then it usually does one of 2 things. It gives you either peace of mind that, hey, what we don't have to worry about waking up and being shut down, or it gives you a detailed laundry list in high, medium, and low risk, what we found, what the problem was, and what even the remediation step is. So your current IT team or people can resolve it, or that's then where you can partner with us. If you say, no, I don't have somebody, you can hire us to do that. But yeah.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that. Kurt, you had a question?
Yeah, just so where are you now from where do you want to go with your business? I mean, do you want to grow? Obviously most business owners want to grow. So
yeah, absolutely.
What's next?
Yeah, my mission and my main purpose is to protect the livelihoods of 1 million employees and the entrepreneurs that took all the risks to start their businesses from not getting shut down, and locked out of their network. So 1 million, that's my goal that I'm onto. Yeah, we're not an AT&T or a major, but we're well on our
1 million lives protected, business lives protected, right?
Absolutely. So through the verticals that we serve, we're hyper focused. We don't go after everybody. We have customers that get referred to us from different industries, but we hyper focus so we can really learn their industry and add a lot of value and really know their business model.
Yeah, and you have to also scale it appropriately so you don't, because there's a lot of expertise, I assume, in every employee that you're hiring, right?
Yeah, and that's one of our biggest challenges right now, frankly, just transparent with you guys, is staffing in our industry. You hear it in a lot of industries, but that's why anybody that I talk to that is, young and wondering, I'm not sure what I'm going to do, or, what they want to do, if they're technically inclined, I would suggest they get into cybersecurity, because our industry is white hot. And the biggest problem we face is massive staff shortage.
Great comments. Great comments. Is there any other questions, comments? We have time for 2 more questions.
Well, I certainly have plenty. So Scott, this is kind of near and dear to my heart since I'm involved with crypto, and what's become interesting over the past few years is you see more and more of the bad actors are interested in being paid off in crypto, right? It's probably not so much that they're chasing after a company's crypto, but they know that because a lot of crypto stuff is fairly well secured for the most part, except for people that don't have good practices when it comes to handling their crypto. But is there anything that they should kind of pre-prepare in case that a bad actor does get hold of them, that they should be prepared? Like, should they have some crypto? Should they at least have a plan for how they're going to deal with this kind of an issue?
Yeah, that's where really going through each company's specific organization and their business model, and going through if they have a current incident response policy, and even if they do, refining that, going through it, and as performing what are called tabletop exercises, which just means like, okay, we wrote up this document here, and now we're going to sit down with the key players and we're going to play through scenarios. That's where things like you're talking about, it's a great question, comes up, like, okay, we might have to do that. Do we have something in place? What if our systems are hit and it's 2 days before payroll? Do we have a way? Oh my gosh, how would we get everybody paid? How do we, all those questions. And then you do that at least a couple of times a year and you refine that policy. So it just depends on your industry. Some are required, there's some laws about who you're able to pay and not pay and how you do it. A lot of times, whether you pay or not comes down to how good your backups are. That's a lot. With our forensic team, when we sit down post-incident, we come in with the attorneys and they ask, hey, should I pay this or not? Well, we go through the legal obligations, their specific industry and size, and we give them the options. That's our job as a professional. And then secondly, it comes down to is how good's your backup? Can we restore that? And a lot of people, rely on the cloud like you did in 9/11. I mean, that's the type of stuff. But a lot of people rely on, I got a cloud provider, so I'm good. And that misconception of, they sadly find out once everything's been deleted that, wait a second, I thought our cloud, no, their platform is secure, but when somebody bad actor gets into your network, goes to the cloud as you and deletes all your stuff, all that stuff's locked down and deleted before they hit you with that red sign of doom of, hey, you've been hit and you got to pay up before we give you your data. So it varies.
I think that you're absolutely right. The key thing that I think people need to keep in mind is, most people plan for, there's going to be a snowstorm and we need to have places closed, or we have to have places, or we have to have extra people or whatever it is. They foresee those things. This stuff has now actually become foreseeable. And so this idea of testing, or at a minimum going through and role playing, who's responsible? A lot of times, if you're really pressed for it, and you're under pressure, is the worst time to be trying to do stuff on the fly, especially when it comes to financial stuff. And crypto, it's not like writing a check. Writing checks is actually fairly straightforward and easy. Most people could do it with their eyes closed. Dealing with some kind of issue where the ransom needs to be paid, in a hurry because they're threatening to delete something. It's nice to have a forensic team come in, and that's great. But if the bad actor decides to put pressure on you because they know that somebody like you is going to come in and do work, their pressure point is speed, right? Do it today or we delete, right?
Yep.
So you have to be prepared, right? I think
you're absolutely right, because they know
important.
the negotiations that go down there, all those things that factor in, and time is of the essence. So being prepared is key.
Awesome. Thank you for all that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes,
and we talk about like car insurance analogy. I think for a lot of us, none of us, which one of us here would go outside and get in our car and not have car insurance and drive it around? And what's the risk? It's obvious. It's like, whoa, I don't want to pay 20,000 out of pocket or have my home, some risk, something, happening, liability, come back to me, my business. How much more important is your business? That's your livelihood, and your employees and all the people on your team that rely on you, and your clients and your credibility and everything else. So like I said, I understand we're also busy with other stuff, but once you get awareness, the two biggest disconnects I see is they don't know the impact and they don't know the likelihood. And once they get educated, Tom, like you said, that's why education is key. You and I are on the same page with that. That's when they realize, okay, awareness is the first step. Oh my gosh, I can't stick my head in the sand. I need to tackle this because it's 1,000 times more painful and the likelihood is so possible.
Great questions, great comments. Scott, where can people reach you to connect with you?
Yeah, shielditnetworks.com. And my email is just scottH@shielditnetworks.com. Anybody has any questions or anything of any type, let me know. We love helping out other, business owners and, anything we can. And like I said, yeah.
Thank you so much for being our speaker today. Tom, where can cryptocurrency investors and businesses reach you?
Best way is tomfordham@gmail.com. I actually have plenty more, but here's the thing. It's a very crazy business. Scott will probably just nod his head a lot. I get all kinds of crazies. Okay. I get them. I spend time on Reddit. I spend time on LinkedIn. People come at me from all different directions. I have a group in the UK, for example, that's after me to do some stuff for them. So I've kind of scaled back. I don't even do a website anymore because it was attacked too much. Right, Scott? That's the problem, right? You tell people what you do for a living and boom, you get paid off for it, right? So nowadays I just let people contact me through my Gmail account. That's the easiest way.
Wonderful. Thank you for being our guest co-host today. We appreciate you. Thank you to our thought leader panels and everyone that comes back every week to support us. Alan, we had a fantastic guest co-host, Tom, today, and
Thank
our
you, Tom.
speaker, Scott.
Thank you.
Would you mind please closing in prayer?
Yeah, let's bow our head and close in prayer. Thank you so much for everyone. Heavenly gracious Father, Lord, thank you so much for another week of CryptoCannaVerse show where we can bring our guest speaker, Scott, with IT Shields, as well as our co-host, Tom, with the Crypto CPA. I just pray that you continue to work in each one of us, and all things come, everything that's good comes from heaven, light above, and we want to continue to focus on the light that shine for us on a daily basis, and we continue to worship you and praise you and trust you in all things that we do. In Jesus' name, I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful
Amen.
weekend. Please